Welcome back to Leadership Blueprints, everybody. Today, I am very excited to have a longtime friend, longtime mentor, former boss, Tom Tickner, retired two-star general from the Corps of Engineers. We'll dig into all things AEC, but I just learned a new one, AEG. General Tickner joined Wolpert in a full-service architectural engineering and geospatial firm. So we're going to dig into that today. So welcome to the show. Excited to dig in, sir.
Yeah.
Great to have you in person.
I'm excited to be here too, BJ. And like you said, we're good friends, but it started off being both in the military together. So this is fun to be back.
Back in and everybody's heard me talk about my experience. And General Tickner is really the one that kind of opened my eyes and gave me opportunities. I was a captain, resident engineer at the Philadelphia district during a time when, I don't know, I know that the BRAC program I was on was $2 billion or $1.2 billion. Philadelphia District Corps of Engineers, that was 07 to 10?
Or
for that
time. For me, I was there 08 to 10.
Yeah.
BRAC we were technically 05,
to 11.
To 11.
So I think that's a good place to start, because not many people understand what the Corps of Engineers does. They probably hear about it here in New Jersey. They hear about it when we're doing a beach replenishment project. Maybe you hear about it on the news, associated with either bridges or infrastructure. Every now and then you'll hear about it in MilCon. I think because our story started at the Philadelphia district, why don't we talk about the Philly district and the Corps of Engineers mission in general? As kind of a starting point.
Great. Well, like you, I was in the Corps of Engineers as a captain. I did first time out in Sacramento, and that opened my eyes to, wow, what the Corps of Engineers does for the nation. And then I got the opportunity to come back to my hometown, Philadelphia. I'm from just outside Philly in PA. And it was really like coming home and meeting all the folks of the Philadelphia district, meeting you for the first time, and seeing what we were doing there with BRAC, which was only one of the missions that were out there, but a huge mission. And that's where we put BJ down in Aberdeen with a team that had everything he needed, contractor, the contracting, and a great group of individuals, everybody working together and solving problems on site.
Yeah. I think it's worthy to note the Philadelphia Phillies won the World Series.
That's true.
While we were working together. We got to see the team roll down Broad Street on the top of the Wanamaker building. Talk to me about first, Philadelphia district, smaller district, one of 6 lieutenant colonel districts?
One of 9.
One of 9. Okay. So, and how many districts are there? 30?
42?
42.
Now? Changing a little bit every once in a while.
I'm behind.
Yeah.
And the Philly district has approximately 500 employees?
I think so now. I think we were about 800.
Oh, really?
Right around BRAC.
Okay.
When we were.
So, district commander is responsible for everything. You talked about, you got legal there, you've got contracting there, you've got AE or design, you have construction. We have the Marine Design Center in Philly. You're coming in as a commander. You got 2 or 3 years there to try and make a difference. We had BRAC going on as kind of a primary mission. But it was MilCon was not really the bread and butter of the district. And then you had the deepening project. Those were the 2 major projects you were dealing with there, right?
Those are the 2
programs.
Big ones. And then I would even throw in the normal military with Dover Air Force Base also. But those were the 2 big ones. And part of it is, and maybe we'll get into this, change, as we go from job to job in the military, what can only you do and what can you empower others to do? And the BRAC was probably a perfect example. What could only I do? Maybe that was some things that were political because it was up and out. That was more of the Delaware deepening. But we had plenty of people who wanted to and could do the BRAC program, so the big program in Aberdeen.
Okay. And then we get involved in emergency management and disaster response from time to time here locally. And I can't remember this statistic, but beach fill projects were a big part of the Jersey Shore, big part of the Philly district mission.
Shoreline protection, I would call it.
Okay, the official terminology. I remember when there was a map, and I can't remember the distance. Maybe it's 250 miles of the New Jersey coast or of the shoreline that you protect. Within 250 miles, there's something like 70% of the U.S. population lives there. Is that? Do you remember this?
Well, I would just say the Northeast in general, the Philadelphia the district covers an incredible amount of population of folks that live in that small footprint,
Right.
Versus some of the other districts that are out there that are more land, but a lot less people.
Right. So this is you'll hear where I'm going with this. What I learned, really just scratching the surface, is not just, all right, I'm on a project down at Aberdeen Proving Ground. I understand how we do contracting. I understand how we partner with industry and the professional services side and who designs and all this. To me, what I really got exposed to when I was around you was this, maybe because it's only you can do, the politics, the flow of money due to politics or public policy, and then the technical solutions. And yeah, you're the senior commander responsible for the technical execution of this operating district, but you're the one touching and understanding how the money's coming down, who in your district is worried about what, because they are representing the constituents of your district. And that leads me to talk about the ongoing path of your career when you eventually ended up on the Hill.
Mm-hmm.
So I want to make sure, I wanted to give people kind of a once over the world of a district commander. I know you had time as district commander in Philly. You had time at Savannah. Then you became division commander in both North Atlantic Division and POD. And I think those missions internationally are very, very different, although the Corps of Engineers mission remains the same, fair to say.
Mm-hmm.
So those, anything specific about the difference between Philly and Savannah or North Atlantic Division and POD that you want to hit on?
So I would first say coming to the Philadelphia district as commander was my first time commanding. So you give me a lot of credit if you think I knew what I was doing. What I was doing a lot of listening, and we had incredible people there, lifelong employees that would just pour their heart and soul into what they were trying to do. And I listened to them. So I learned a lot. 2 years in Philadelphia district. I then went on and learned some stuff, headquarters, and then the other districts and on the Hill. So at that time, I probably didn't know if I came across that I was that good. To
a young 27-year-old captain, you did.
Yeah, because we weren't that much different in age. I just happened to be commanding at that time. But the Philadelphia district was incredible. What we had going on, everybody worked during the day. Quite frankly, everybody worked at night. They thought about what they were doing.
Yeah.
Lots of things going on at once. And I lived here too, so it was my hometown. So it was a lot of fun being here. If I want to contrast that, what we did in Savannah, which was probably about 4 or 5 years later, I had the experience of what we did here with the Delaware Deepening, which was really a project that involved Pennsylvania, New Jersey, and Delaware. A lot of other stakeholders too, but those were the big primary political folks in Savannah. Remarkably, it was exactly the same, but it was just 2 states, and it was Georgia and South Carolina. And what I learned was you should never put a river between 2 states because it's what people fight over water and all the things that go along with that. But it was, flow of money. It was engineering solutions. Like, can you do this? And then you have to get folks behind you. If that's the right answer, they'll get behind you, and work through that. So both were remarkably similar. And Savannah also had a huge military program that covers the Southeast.
Okay. Talk briefly about the difference between a district commander's responsibilities and a division commander's responsibilities.
Yeah. So quite frankly, the district commander is a little more fun because you are living with your folks from that area. Here it was the people from Philadelphia region. In Savannah, it was the people from living down in Savannah and South Carolina that came together. And you really, truly understand what's going on with them. And you're leading them. And so you're doing a lot of listening, but you care about them. Not that you don't care about them as you go up in the ranks, but you have a lot more responsibility, typically up and out. So you are looking down, but you have commanders underneath you, district commanders that are doing that work. And as long as you got a great trusting relationship with them, you're going to hear about what's going on, where the problems are, where the challenges are. And then it's a two-way street on how to solve those problems. Both of them, though, are very fun. And I'm so glad that I had the opportunity to become a general officer and go be a division commander. And I got to do it in two phenomenal locations that have incredible missions that I then took on with me, to do some other assignments to include Capitol Hill.
Yeah. Pacific Ocean Division, way different than North Atlantic Division. Huge footprint or area of operations, area of responsibility. Is disaster response, disaster management the biggest thing you were worried about in POD or?
I'm not going to say it's the biggest thing. We work for FEMA. If it got to be too big for FEMA, then we work for DOD. But quite frankly, we were, there's always a typhoon. Yep. There's always a hurricane in the Pacific. There always is. There's no downtime. So we're always watching it and seeing where the impacts would be. When I was there, we had close calls in Hawaii. Big ocean, little island. Most of the time it misses. But we had some significant things in Saipan and Tinian. And it was so big that FEMA, we were with FEMA initially, but then DOD got called in, and actually DOD did lots and lots of work out there during that time frame. And we continued to work for both FEMA and DOD.
Okay. And then Seoul relocation, was that during, before, or after?
Ongoing.
There was a ton of stuff going on.
So another, quite frankly, it's like BRAC, phenomenal overseas, generally paid for by South Koreans to move our footprint, soldiers' footprint, south and into modern facilities. And it was already ongoing when I got there, but it truly amazing, complex, beautiful hospital, brand new, state-of-the-art hospital, barracks, command and control centers, amazing. If you went to any other modern military base, you'd think you're at Fort Hood, Texas. Or you'd think you're. It was that great, and it was a lot of fun partnering with the South Koreans too, because we were not just there moving a base. We were, quite frankly, at the time, building up our logistics to basically show that America was behind South Korea, and we successfully did that for sure, because we moved a lot of things to Korea at that point.
I worked for you there because I was an IMA on the reserve team, and I got just probably an inch deep and a foot wide, not a mile wide, on contingency operations and all of the planning, Ultra Freedom Guardian, and all the things that USAs could be called on in the time of war. And I'm trying to remember, it's SOFRA. Is that?
SOFA?
Yeah.
The agreement?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Did that apply to construction also? And we can edit this out if I'm not smart enough.
I'm not sure if it. There's definitely some SOFA agreements on who pays for what.
I'm trying to think of. It had to do with contracting, and we're going to edit this out because I'm not smart enough to even ask the question I wanted to ask. So we'll jump.
Okay.
All right. Before you got the POD, you had the time on the Hill, right?
I did. I came out of Afghanistan and went. I was trying to look for a job. I thought I was getting toward the end of my career, and had a house in Washington D.C. and I said, well, I'll work anywhere in D.C. Tough job. I'm still want to give back, and I ended up getting a job in FMNC, Financial Management and Controller.
Okay.
And I'm like, they got to be kidding me. This is not me. I'm an engineer. And what the job was actually the budget liaison for the Army. And it falls under FMNC because of the budget side. And so after, reading a little bit about it, that was my job, to lead a group of young captains and majors to engage the Hill on budget related matters. And that was the first time that I did that. And so appropriations committees, that's who we took care of, answered their questions, and got the Army to go explain what they were trying to do.
And is that all things Army? It's not.
All things
it's
Army.
Not just infrastructure, built environment. It's
all things Army, and
okay.
It was it's kind of where I learned, a new part of partnership. I was all understood how to partner with contractors and how we bring everybody to a table and, hey, let's agree to a common goal and then help each other get to that goal. What I learned on the Hill was, hey, we really are all in this together. But there's other ways of assisting, and members of Congress, staff, as they deal with DOD, they truly believe they're part of national security. Like they are picking and choosing, in this case, what gets funded. And above all, they don't want to do anything wrong. Like there's nobody on Capitol Hill that wants to do anything wrong.
Right.
So they kind of rely on good relationships with the military, as people that will come back to them and say, we don't need that. That would not help us, because most things we can use and we like more of it. But some things is just, I've learned they're willing to take that feedback.
Well, and is it fair to say they're also being educated by contractors or technology providers or weapons manufacturers in their district, saying we should be positioning for money? So you're the other side of that, telling them what is actually helpful, what is actually priority, what is actually needed. Is that?
Yep. No, that's exactly right. And I probably didn't realize that until now that I'm on the private side, how much contractors really do engage their members of Congress and staff. And, you can call it lobbying. Within the military, we don't lobby. We do build advocacy, and we do educate, and we do take them on trips to go see soldiers and airmen, and see equipment and see industry where they're actually building things. And in industry, you can lobby for sure, but I still think it's educating.
It is. You have to open people's eyes to, and let's go back to the podcast in general, opening people's eyes to the importance of public infrastructure. Nobody cares about utilities or power or whatever, because we take it for granted. Until in New Jersey, all of a sudden your bill skyrockets and everybody's like, wait, why is my bill $200 more than it usually is this past summer? Nobody cares about roads and bridges until you can't get from New Jersey to Philadelphia. And, if you clean water, aviation, healthcare systems, nobody cares about the infrastructure side of it or appreciates it until you don't have it. And I think the same thing goes for a congressman. We happen to have a congressman here that was a union electrician. So he has an appreciation for the trades, and he has an appreciation for infrastructure funding, but not everybody. There's a lot of lawyers, and if they're not aware of either new technology or the need for certain investment in infrastructure, to me, it's like coming to the Philly district, not having an appreciation for, like, I went to the Jersey Shore and I remember beach projects because I thought they just needed to extend our beach every now and then. I'm not thinking about shoreline protection. So I do think the role of industry is educating public leaders, public decision makers, so that those public decision makers can get smart on what are they voting on. And I think we in the news, in mainstream media, make politics about the divisiveness of it, but there's not many people out there that go into public service, go into politics because they want to do a bad job, or that I think that we get into these hard lines around party, but most of them are just trying to make good decisions for their constituents and for the benefit of where we're investing our tax dollars. So there's my rant on lobbying.
So, and on the Senate side, not a lot of engineers. I will say though, Delaware Senator Kaufman, where I was here when he took over. And he would always see us because he claimed he was the only engineer in the Senate, and so, but I think they rely on engineering and science folks to come tell them what's reality.
Yeah,
For technology, same way, to tell us what's reality, and I think that's what we should be doing. We should definitely be educating decision makers, wherever they are.
All right. I want to move towards the AEG. So that was new to me. First time I heard it was when you said that's what Wolpert is. Everybody hears me talk about the AEC industry, architect, engineering, construction. Wolpert claims to be an AEG company, architecture, engineering, and geospatial. We were talking before we got on the show about geospatial and the power of technology. I want to get into the elevator pitch of who Wolpert is, but first, you did how many years active duty? 30?
33.
33 active duty. You've been in and around the Corps of Engineers. You understand this huge industry that serves and partners with the Corps of Engineers and solves problems in the built environment. How did you make the decision of where you were going to land?
Well, I had not heard of Wolpert before, and I'd never heard of AEG before. I was an Army engineer officer for 33 years, generally Army engineer assignments to include installation management command as a deputy. So I definitely was well-versed in the challenges associated, at least within the Army, of engineering in general.
Yep.
Geospatial is in our engineer regiment. It's there. I personally wasn't overly exposed to it, other than a lot of surveying I did as a lieutenant and building some airfields. But that was the one thing. I just wasn't exposed to it. So what got me to Wolpert was the AE side. I mean, okay, and of course I had started to get exposed before I got there, but it truly was a differentiator.
Yeah.
And a lot of my friends are at all kinds of firms, great firms, and they're architectural engineering firms or AEC firms. But when I talk to them about geospatial, quite frankly, because that's the difference.
Yeah.
And we can partner with the biggest firms, with the smallest firms, and what we bring to the table is a unique aspect is the geospatial. And then everything else is a partnership, for design and even, geospatial during construction is all a partnership there.
Let's give the audience just kind of a taste of what geospatial is. I think everybody's heard of what an architect is.
Mm-hmm.
I think everybody's heard of what an engineer is. And even if you don't know, you kind of just understand what they do. Geospatial, I think, is new. And we were talking about how the idea of geospatial to me has always been data. And now with AI kind of changing all industries, that data and that technology all of a sudden empowers decisions. We've talked about digital twins. So what is the Wolpert pitch on what geospatial is?
Okay, so almost everything has a space and time, and that's the data associated with that. I'd say Wolpert is a technology company that does architectural engineering, incredible architectural engineering when you really look at our full portfolio, data centers and ports and things like that we do. With the unique part of geospatial that I'm involved with is part of national security, is what we call it as a market. And we do everything from flying for National Geospatial Intelligence Agency. We fly LiDAR all over the world, most uniquely right now is out in the Pacific, where we collect geospatial data, topo data on islands. We also do bathymetric lidar from an airplane, which I didn't know that was even possible. But we do it from an airplane, and we can get the bathymetric lidar and the littorals, you know, up to 60, feet, pretty significant. But I would say, clarity matters.
Yeah.
But it's amazing what you can do, and that's when the non-built environment it'll capture what's there for sure. But what I'm trying to do right now is make sure that decision makers are exposed to that capability, and therefore, when you make decisions on where to build something or where to plan something, you actually have a good map, and that map is not from Captain Cook or 1942. It's a modern digital map. There's a dream in NGA, I think, to have a digital twin of the Pacific or a digital twin of the world. And eventually that will definitely be
Wow.
the case. And decision makers then can quickly go and look at a model and see what's happening there, the currents or the terrain underneath a dense jungle, et cetera.
And I mean, anything can have a digital twin. So I'm a systems engineer. Everything in the world is a system. A digital twin is taking everything that we know about something. Um, it could be the Earth. It could be a building. It could be a data center. It could be a car. That digital twin allows you to see how it basically tests different environments and test how could things go wrong without actually having to do it in the physical world. Is that
Yes, and I mean, one like I look at like a lock and dam. Okay, we can do a digital twin of a lock and dam.
Yep.
We do them, or a bridge. We can do incredible details of an existing bridge just by scanning it. But we could do the whole inland marine transportation system, which includes boats and how currents flow and what's happening with those type and trucks, that are involved with the inland marine transportation system. So it's amazing. It's an incredible. I guess I would think of it as an incredible model that allows you to sit somewhere and analyze it for your own purposes.
So
and for multiple purposes.
Let me take it a step further. When I was first on Aberdeen Proving Ground, the civil engineer, and it might have even been General Semonite, talked about getting design right, because if you get design right, every change that you get right in design saves you 10x that cost when you're changing it in construction. This is the same thing, except you're not just modeling out the engineering and construction of it, you're also modeling out the operations and maintenance of it. And now you get into life cycle cost and the total cost of ownership and the total cost of operation. So ideally, digital twins and really all of the GIS services are collecting up the data, helping you really think through operations and maintenance of this. When are critical faults happening, critical failures, just in time ordering, bench stock type stuff. Like it really empowers the facility executive or the facility manager to in real time always know what's going on. Is that the dream?
That's the dream. And folks that are in this world, even in the federal government, they want that. Installation Management Command, they want that.
We didn't touch on you being an IMCOM.
Yeah. So it's, and there's 104 garrisons around the world that they manage. And so these types of systems will eventually get there. It's already in the free market, where total cost of ownership matters, which quite frankly is everywhere in the free market, or when speed matters. They're going to design that in a digital environment first, iron out all the differences, all the challenges, and fix all that with the owner there digitally watching it, because they care about it too. Everybody's in it together. There's no handing off anything. It's designers, the owner, the contractor, everybody working together to reach whatever that goal is. Typically, we see that in the data center world for sure. But I think we're going to see that in the federal government. I know the Corps of Engineers is looking at better, faster, cheaper, speed being critical though.
Yeah.
Well,
and to me, I know you said the free market. The better the better we can be at making those decisions and being smarter about those decisions. A more efficient government is good for everybody if we can make the right investments in it and empower leaders at the right level to be able to make decisions with the data that they have. So I want to get into a little bit of you and your leadership lessons learned before we get into kind of your overall career leadership lessons learned. How has it been leading in a organization where you're no longer the commander? Not everybody works for you. There's no rank structure. Um, After 33 years in the military, how has it been?
Yeah.
I mean, you always been kind of a friendly, uh, I would say, man of the people everywhere I've seen you. So my guess is it hasn't been much of a change. But talk to us about.
Yeah. Um, it hasn't been that much of a change. And maybe it's because my leadership style was never to necessarily stand in front of people and give them an order.
Right.
We would get there, but I'd spend maybe a little extra time and be explaining it and getting some buy-in and even altering. As long as you have time, what better way of getting buy-in and then executing something? And even as a later in your career as a general officer, more and more people don't work for you. Like a few people fall under you and that your organization, but you're working to your left and right, and you're trying to influence people in a good way to get on
Right.
board with whatever direction you're going. Stakeholders. Think of all the stakeholders that the Corps of Engineers deals with. When there's a crisis, we're amazing. And everybody rallies and gets behind it, goes all the different stakeholders that are out there. And so I guess that's what I take with me. And I don't expect people to fall in line with what I'm doing. Quite frankly, I'm doing more learning
Right.
than anything. But we're all learning and leading and going together and doing really, really well. I mean, it's a lot of fun what we have going on in Wolpert, but I know probably a lot of companies are that way. But I think culture is very, very important. I think General Semonite asked me once, what are you going to do? I think I was going to POD and I'm like, well, I'm going to look at this culture. It's like, culture, what does that have to do with anything? But we had a great conversation, and I am convinced that culture in a company, in a unit, is just as important, if not more important, of getting the mission done, especially when times get tough.
Yeah. What would you describe the culture at Wolpert as?
Yeah, a lot of teamwork. And we are a company that's drastically growing. So we're at 3,000 people now, and we're acquiring companies, plus we're hiring. And that's definitely the goal of the company. So as we bring in new companies, and they were coming in for the right reasons, what we're doing is we're listening, learning how to implement them, and really joining our existing team.
Right.
And quite frankly, sometimes it's us joining their team. They already have really, really good things happening. Murphy Geospatial is a company that we got out of Ireland. I mean, they're amazing on the geospatial side of the house. They have a lot of things going on. We're using them here in the U.S. to engage our current clients here on digitization during construction, which is a key thing we're working on right now as a challenge.
So you're there just over a year, right? They're acquiring companies all the time, injecting new capabilities. How do most employees look at that growth? Are they just there doing their job and that's what's happening that's what's happening corporately? It doesn't really impact my life, or how does that make its way to the average employee?
Yeah. Neil Sherman's our president and CEO. He's done an amazing job, in my opinion, having seen many commanders over the years.
Yeah.
Do town halls and do different things. Some of them do good, some of them, not so good at certain things. I think he's done a great job of getting buy-in. And folks at Wolpert, you've been there a long time. You may not like change, but you bought in and you're part of the company. I mean, we're an equity, owned company.
ESOP?
We're not ESOP.
No, you're not ESOP.
But
Yeah.
we lot of the employees have equity in the company.
Gotcha.
And a big chance to get, if you're new, a big chance to join that
Got it.
as it goes forward. So I think that adds to one, the desire. We all want the company to do really well. And quite frankly, we're counting on those decision makers in our company that are doing that to do really well.
Right.
And then we have our job to execute and to pull people together to get behind that.
And then how does he integrate? Hold on one second. We can edit this out. We were just talking about integration. Is there any best practice that Neil does? You guys buy a company. Is it just informational that it comes out via email? Is there some kind of capability, that presentation to the senior executive team? How do you go about getting to know new capabilities?
Well, I've for a year here, I've seen it, and I've seen the companies that are in different phases of integration.
Yeah.
And it's the systems they use. They're well thought out. They slowly get integrated in. But learning that company, and we just acquired Daywood Engineering here in Pennsylvania.
Yep.
And that's while I've been here. So definitely going to engage their team. I got to go out to the King of Prussia office, but with Wolpert, lots of engagement, hands-on engagement. They happen to have a Polish office in Poland.
Oh, really?
And so that's intriguing to me with national security. And so
Yeah.
when I was in Europe, definitely engaging with that office there and integrating them in. So I think it's about learning their capabilities, and then it's two-way street. They're learning about what Wolpert does and how can we work together. Many times I think we've already partnered beforehand.
That's how you know them.
Yeah.
You guys were on a project together or something.
At least that would be the ideal goal.
Yeah. Makes sense. Anything we didn't cover that you wanted to hit on about what you're doing at Wolpert and what makes you guys different?
Yeah. One of the things that we're doing is, I wake up every day just like I did in the military, and I look at the news. That's the first thing I do. Something changed typically in the world. And then, when I'm in the Army, it's like, okay, now I know what the Hill's going to be talking about. I know what, we need to be doing. If it was in the Pentagon, what the conversations are going to be. And quite frankly, maybe it's the type of role I'm in at Wolpert with national security and working with the federal government. Something's changing. Lately it's been, how does our government get better, more efficient? Okay, we can easily move to that. And we have been. So this whole idea of technology, we talked about geospatial, but geo AI is a new concept. AI is not, but integrating geospatial into AI is unique. We acquired a company out of Pittsburgh, Carnegie Mellon, PhD folks, and we work with them on multiple things. Whether we're doing security initiatives for Secret Service or other areas that we're doing, we need to look at massive amounts of data and pull out the details of what we're looking for. That's geo AI, and it's just a unique way of doing it, and we're making great strides in that every day.
I'm curious to see where it goes, because I think we're talking our way over here. Engineers kind of get stuck in their ways, and I would say change in general is not adapted quickly in our industry, especially public buyers. But everybody knows that AI and large language models, I think that's what it's called, and machine learning, all of this is going to change how we solve problems. And it's becoming more and more obvious in other industries. I think we've been exposed a little bit to how this is going to roll out in the healthcare side. through the electronic health record system with Oracle. So it's changing everywhere. And you guys seem to be one of the first movers, at least that I'm hearing about, that's super invested. And I think the fact that your AEG, that your foundation is around that data is what makes the AI work. So I'm curious to see where it goes and how it evolves and where it's adapted, in particular in the national security enterprise.
So I was out with Hensel Phelps at their innovation hub out in Phoenix, and they put on, other companies came in, and I was looking at all the robotics that they're using to, build walls.
Buildings, yeah.
Icon is a company that was there too. They're doing their 3D printing of buildings. Wire ties for rebar.
Yeah.
And I looked at it from a new set of eyes going, this is all geospatial. I mean, okay. Now, AEG company, you never leave. Like we didn't, we weren't advertising that we're a construction company.
Right.
I mean, pretty soon we will be, because geospatial is construction. And we are. I mean, so we'll have to see if Neil wants to change the AEG. But
AEGC.
Yeah. But it's rapidly changing.
Yeah.
And I saw, industry drives it. I mean, the commercial market drives this. But, Installation Management Command, we were trying to do 3D buildings because we're like, hey, it could be better, faster, cheaper eventually. And we could do this in faraway places where we really don't have the material to go do it, but we could, or the people or the labor. So that we are in a rapidly changing world, and the construction industry is no different.
Yeah. All right. Switching to leadership. You talked about you've never been the person that's just do what I said, take the order. Over your career, what are the leadership lessons that have served you best?
Yeah. And these are things you probably always have to strive to do better at. But
I think since you said that, this is a 2-star general. It's now leading as an executive leader in a private sector company. And one of the things I tell people all the time, it's first of all, the podcast is called Leadership Blueprints because there's no blueprint to what leadership success looks like. And second, I have never met a very successful leader that doesn't still say, but I'm not trying to get better at it. I'm far from perfect at it. Leadership is such a human art and science that it meets contact in every conversation, every relationship that you have. So I'm glad you said that. I just wanted to make the commercial because a lot of the times marketing people want me to be like, it's leadership blueprint. Like you have a blueprint for everybody to follow. I'm like, I don't. You've got to be true and genuine to who you are. You got to kind of take the lessons you've learned, see how they work in the different environments that you're operating in. At the heart of who I am, I'm the same guy that was a platoon leader in Iraq, but I've gotten a lot smarter and I made a lot more mistakes along the way. So I appreciate you.
So you said one word there that kind of maybe triggers it all. You got to be genuine. And number one, you got to be genuine. Otherwise people see right through you and you truly don't enjoy what you're doing. I happen to love the construction industry. I just have always done. I worked with my dad growing up, big house projects types of stuff, but I loved it. And that was kind of my motivation, going to civil engineering, getting through that, which probably was one of the toughest things I ever done. And probably there's other things that people would think are tougher. That was pretty tough. Penn State civil engineering was tough. I would just say, okay, so going off of being genuine, but teamwork, always forming a team. If someone asked me to do something, like we need you to go on a special mission or do this, I'm like, okay, do I have a team? If it's all me, okay. I mean, I guess I would figure that out, but hopefully I'm phone a friend and I could be doing that out there. But it's much more in my mind, successful when you have a team for that. The other thing is collaboration. So, and I'm not sure when I learned it, but if you have time to collaborate, do it. It serves a lot of purposes. One, it's going to be a better product than just you making a decision. And you know, there's a few things out there, especially in the military, where there is no time and you're going to make a decision. Well, you've learned a lot over the years by collaborating that you can make that decision. And quite frankly, it probably wouldn't have been the best, but you'll make up for it in the long run. Empowerment is another one. And I kind of mentioned that with you and Brack. Like, we empowered you to go down with a small team, rather large team eventually, but to go do that. And we still were at the main headquarters, and we would be down there and we were tracking it every day. But we trusted and empowered the team to go down. And with empowerment is communication. So two-way communication. So you're not just giving someone the empowerment and let them go do it and there's no communication, but you got to communicate, and that's within the team. And that's probably the hardest part. And even in my job now, it's like, how do we communicate across a company, 3,000 people and growing? Everybody's can be stovepiped.
Right.
But I kind of lead the federal sector. Again, they don't all work for me, but we have a lot of people working for the federal sector. How do we communicate with each other so we can actually go effectively talk to our federal clients and give them the whole Wolpert and our partners?
Yeah.
Because we'll speak on behalf of our partners too.
I think the lines of communication, and now the multitude of, a good old phone call, being able to break bread, but now you got email, Slack, LinkedIn message. Like, there's so much overwhelm that I think a lot of people started triaging it. And now it's like, you're not responsive because it's too much to be responsive to. So I cannot imagine how you make it more efficient at 3,000 when I'm at 70 people and it's chaotic. But I do think it's hard, and different people connect in different ways, and different people communicate on different. The thing I miss the most about the military, and again, even you and I, we had BlackBerries, and I could text you day of and you're getting back to me night of, or vice versa. Now it's like, not everybody feels the responsibility to communicate on a timely manner, and whether that's partners and emailing, it's just an interesting problem set that I think we're going to continue to have to deal with, because nothing can replace human to human communication, especially when it comes to leading people.
And I think you got to throw in culture there too, because if the culture is there where people will come to you like, hey, you haven't been talking to me.
Right.
Or you left me out of that. You should have had me in. And it's a good two-way conversation. And the answer maybe be, well, I meant to do that because you're focused on something else. Or thanks for coming to me. I will include you. But it's amazing what AI is doing now. I'm learning a lot. Like AI notes, like I have a meeting and all of a sudden these notes are a professional meeting.
The problem with that, I'm glad you brought that up. So for anybody listening, to me, the most powerful learning that I did on the job down at Aberdeen was somebody was taking meeting minutes, but I was always taking meeting minutes because I knew I was learning stuff. And it's like, somebody opens their mouth, they say a word, or they talk about a different aspect or a scope of work, and I'm like doing some research on it that night. I was taking meeting minutes for myself. Then you have junior people that take meeting minutes, and like, they are responsible for scribing the whole meeting. And in doing that, you're that much more attentive to who's saying what, and what's their personality type, and what do they care about, or what's the scope of the job. So for us, having been a little more experienced and now an executive status, like, great, AI just gave me the meeting minutes from that Zoom. But I think that there's going to be something lost in junior folks really learning what's going on around the table. And I'll review the meeting minutes. And if you're anything like me in school, I never got to reviewing the meeting minutes. Yeah. So it's like, are we losing something there?
I think we are, but we got to, no matter what's happening. So
totally,
we're embracing. And you talk about the thousands of things out there that you're working right now, and you can't possibly keep up. that's true. How can AI help with that?
Right.
And we're going to have to figure out how to get good at that.
Yeah.
I mean, one thing in the military, I always had somebody, at least my last 10 years, whether it was a secretary, executive secretary, an aide. Now I got nobody. I got plenty of people helping me, but my wife says, they turn you generals into like idiots because you can't even travel by yourself. But I've made that transition. I can travel by myself, and I can do things.
It's great.
But I will take all the help I can get.
Shout out to Sherry, who's also in the industry. All right, some rapid fire questions. Any favorite books in your library?
Speed of Trust, if you recall that one.
Yeah.
But it goes back to the culture, that's out there. A few recent ones, at least for me when I read it, The Infinite Game. And so I've been reading that, and quite frankly, when I travel, I'm audiobooks.
Yeah.
So I don't know when it was, but at one point they're like, get your audiobook subscription, and I've had it forever. So I load it up, and then I get to read some of this stuff. Let's go with Selling the Invisible. And so, it's the service industry, quite frankly. So how do you sell it? One of the unique things, and when I read it or listened to it, I was like, wow, that's true. And what it was it's not competition between me and you. We're both in the industry.
Right.
We'll compete for stuff for sure. Some will get somebody else will get some, but the biggest one is an owner or a client that chooses not to do it or to do it themselves.
Yeah.
Because their perception is, I don't need it, or their perception is, I can do it better myself. When the reality is, more than likely, as long as we're good, the right answer is for them to let us do it. If it's a well thought out project, it's going to make them more money, make them more effective, and we'll be able to do a lot quicker and better. And advise them on total cost of ownership and all that. But and I use that when I talk to other partners all the time. I'm like, I'm not competing against you. I mean, we will compete,
right?
But let's just get everybody, all owners, to want better, faster, cheaper. Get them all to want, in our case, the geospatial products that come along with a design and construction project. Because if they choose, I just want the cheapest. Okay, they're going to do low bid.
Nobody wins.
Over there, nobody wins.
Including them.
Yeah, and including the contractor that does the low bid, because they're going to get a bad reputation on change orders and things like that.
I have a question on Speed of Trust. So I've never heard of that book, so I'm glad, because I love getting new books.
Simon Sinek.
Simon Sinek is Infinite Game. Selling the Invisible. Who wrote that?
It's not Simon Sinek. I don't know who it is.
Speed of Trust was Covey. Do you remember that was like an early to mid 90s book?
Yeah. And he obviously has a lot of them.
I was just curious, because there's certain books that, based on who has me read it or what's going on in my world when I read it, they just stick more in my like leadership library.
So it's similar to a book that we've all read, because anybody that's changed jobs, you always read and you keep going back and reading them. So First 90 Days is out there, and I can't remember who wrote that, but Speed of Trust is similar. In my mind, how do you quickly get through for you to trust me?
Yeah.
Does it take 1 day? Does it take 90 days? Does it take a year? Like, when do they trust you? When do you genuinely have their, your servant leader? I'll do whatever. I mean, I'm not going to do things for you, but I'm going to do what I can to help you in your career, and quite frankly, your personal life too.
Yeah.
There's no difference. I mean, we're all in this together. It's a big family.
It's so true when it comes to leadership. I was just telling somebody that the other, the old saying, nobody cares what you know until they know how much you care. To me, that's how I always felt about building rapport and building trust about leadership. And I think it's true. And I don't think until you know that the job is to care about the person's success more than you care about your own success, until you know that, you're not a leader. So
Yeah.
like if you're getting into the people business or into the leadership business, you have to know that part of the job is caring about that person. And part of caring about that person is, it doesn't mean that you're trying to manage every detail of their life. It means that you know that they have a life outside of the job.
Yeah.
They know that life outside of the mission. Um, and to me, that I forget what happened recently, but that was on my head. Any favorite quotes?
Um, I think it goes back to kind of the culture and some of the items I talked about with teamwork, but I think it's an African saying. I don't know if they have a who did it, but if you want to go far, if you want to go far, go together.
Yeah.
If you want to go fast, go it alone.
Yeah.
And typically, it's never go fast and go it alone.
Yeah.
It is much better, especially for anybody at our level. You got to bring the whole team across, and it's not just your team. It's your team, your partners, your stakeholders. How do we get everybody moving?
Yeah.
And it outlasts you, quite frankly.
Again, good leadership. If you could have dinner with 3 people, dead or alive, who would they be?
The first one's easy. George Washington, maybe for a personal reason. I mean, I grew up right outside of here, Valley Forge, and I've been in Valley Forge Park probably since before 1976, and kind of learned the history around here.
Yeah.
With him. I also was in DC a lot, so Mount Vernon, plus not that he was president there, but that's obviously a lot going on with president there. But he was a surveyor, so that's kind of unique.
Yeah.
And he dealt with Congress a lot, even as a general. So I mean, that's we have a photo that I would give out to members of Congress when they were leaving. And it was this photo of George Washington bringing congressional members to Valley Forge, showing them like the condition of the troops. So here's all the well-dressed congressmen at the time, and like soldiers are there like with no shoes on, and
That's great.
doing it. And so we would give it out, and it had to do. We called it the congressional visit. It's because that's one of the jobs we had was taking Congress all over the world, and showing them what the Army was doing. Of those. Yeah,
the original troop advocate.
Yeah, and I think it's the one in it's in the rotunda at the Capitol. Okay. So it's one of those famous.
That's great
portraits.
All right, that's one. Do you have 2 others?
I'm gonna go with a hot topic of the day: Elon Musk.
All right.
He seems to always come up with something new.
Innovator.
The latest thing was money may not matter. That's what I read the other day. I have to dive into more details, but I think what he's saying is all the robotics and AI, people are going to have what they need.
Yeah.
And there'll be something else, obviously, that takes over, the power associated with money. But that's a good one. And for a third one, I got one. Kelsey.
Jason Kelsey?
Yeah, Jason Kelsey. I'll just go with that for fun because he seems like a really fun guy to hang out with, and doesn't live too far from here.
I'll send you this. I'll put this in the show notes too. There's a the Monday Night Football crew just did something, and Jason has been, the Travis and been getting a little old, but this one brought him right back. And my kids love the Christmas. I don't know if you have the Christmas album by the Eagles, but Jason Kelsey plays a big part in that. So
okay,
he's on the loop right now in our house.
Yeah, well, if you arrange that dinner, I'll have to bring my wife because she likes them too.
Okay, well, we'll see. All right, floor is yours. We covered a lot of ground. We covered your career. We covered the Corps of Engineers, the AEG. anything you want to wrap up with to our audience is BJ Kraemer getting out off of active duty as a captain, coming into the built environment, maybe even some of our soldiers in the skill bridge up to senior executives of AEC firms, public leaders of engineering infrastructure agencies. So,
Yeah. So, I mean, the military, I'll stick with that here. What a great background for folks to have, whether you're a captain or a general. I think you bring, and we have warrant officers, we have NCOs. It's a incredible talent to tap into. If you're a company looking for folks, I would consider it. And there's a lot of reasons for it. They know how to get it done. It won't be the hardest thing they've ever done. Your company will not be the hardest thing they've ever done, and they won't give up. They know how to not to give up. We started a veterans organization within our company, and it's we kind of kicked it off here at Veterans Day, but it brings in every service. It is overseas too, so we have Aussies that work for us because we have a company. A lot of our companies in Australia, and then the UK and also Ireland. But we're going to keep going with it. We haven't defined exactly what the veterans organization is, but I'm like-minded. Yeah. As long as you're like-minded, that's what we'll do. But by all means, I think that's phenomenal what people bring to the table. And I will say, I love what you're doing from a communication standpoint. This isn't about BJ Kraemer. I'm sure it helps with the company's name, but quite frankly, getting these topics out there is a great tool. I did do one podcast before.
Okay.
So I got to share what it was. It was when I was a commander in Pacific Ocean Division, and we were in Laos, communist country. And we were down there looking at dams. We got to do a podcast with I guess it was Voice of America, out of the embassy. But it was two, Laotian man and woman, and they made it like it was so comfortable. And I grabbed a buddy of mine who was with me. I'm like, we're going to do this. And it was all about just engaging the area of democracy and engineering and STEM.
That's awesome.
And it was wonderful, but it was hard because they would talk to us like you and I, and then they would laugh and talk in Laotian to their audience, and we had no idea what they were saying.
You have no idea what they were translating.
Laughing, and we're like, we're serious. We're like talking about engineering and women in engineering and STEM and all kinds of stuff. So this has been pretty enjoyable for sure. But I appreciate what you're doing.
I appreciate it, sir. Hey, everybody. I think there's a ton of stuff that we're covering: leadership, the built environment, the digital twins, and GIS. So if you're enjoying this, please like it, share it, send it to somebody. I talk about sending it via text because similar to books that are recommended to me by people, I'm more likely to listen to something if somebody has actually personally recommended it. So I think that's how we get the word out. And we are moving slowly but surely onto YouTube. Apparently, everybody is moving away from listening to podcasts. Now they want to watch podcasts, or at least have the option to. So we are moving to YouTube. We'll be putting that out more and more. So look for that. Until next time, have a great week and a great weekend. Thanks, sir.
Thanks, BJ.